Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. In today's video, we're doing part 5 of my coloring book collection from January through June 2021. And if that is of interest to you, please stay tuned. All right, so like I've been doing, I've been naming these different sections, and these by far are my favorites plus one. And that plus one we'll actually talk about after we talk about these two. Now, I've talked about this quite a bit because if you guys have been watching my videos, you know that my favorite coloring book artists are Opal and Erie, and so they're definitely going to be featured in this section. Now, this will not be the last video in my coloring book collection video. I actually don't have any more books per se to show you, but in the final video I'll be showing you all of the pens and pencils. We'll just focus on those that I've picked up between January and June 2021, and then that's the video that will be featuring the giveaway, and you'll actually see some books there, but we'll talk about that one in that video. So we're going to start with one of my favorites, and I can't remember if I picked up the Opal book first or the Erie book first, because these two artists are definitely because of things that I've seen here on YouTube. I had no idea that they existed, and I have been intrigued with them from the moment that I saw. As soon as I saw it on someone's channel, I did the research and I purchased it. So I've been low-key obsessed with these. So we'll start with number 1. And this is Opal's Forest Girls coloring book. In here, I have done 2 pictures. And so the first one actually is this one. And so I had gotten this in January. After I picked up the Joanna Basford World of Flowers, then I had picked up like 10 books immediately from Amazon. This came in January. I started this in February and finished it on Valentine's Day. And to be honest, I can see why people are intimidated, not only by this style of book, but by her specifically, because when you look at some of the artwork, it is absolutely beautiful. There's a little bit of grayscale, there's a little bit of sketchiness, but then it's one of those that you can see what the artist has done with this, and it can be intimidating by way of that. These are not cheap books. I think this ran me about $20. I think it still runs about $20 on Amazon if it's available. So from someone who was new to the coloring book community, spending $20 on a coloring book seemed excessive. I've actually broken that rule with some of them, but I just love her work, and it is one of my monthly, I don't want to say goals because I don't set goals, but it's one of my monthly things where I want to finish at least one Opal picture a month, just because I love these books so much. And then the yellow tab, this is the one that Poet Spice and I have determined that we're going to be doing a buddy color together. Now, obviously I have not started. I don't know if she has, but we've got a lot of ongoing buddy colors, so that's okay. So this is book 1, Forest Girls coloring book by Opal. This is book 3, Moments Wholly for Yourself. I don't know that it actually is Forest Girl 1, 2, and 3, but I think here in the coloring book community on YouTube, that's what we call it. But this is the same height and width as the other one that you saw. I did choose to get this one before volume 2 because all of the volume 2s I had seen on Amazon were hardback, and at that point I had not had any hardback books, and I didn't know how difficult they would be to color in. I have since picked up some Maria Trolle and Hannah Carlzon, and they actually work perfectly fine, so that's not an issue. In here, I have done quite a few pages, and this, I believe, is just a tester page. Again, this is all written in Korean. If you're ever wondering how you can tell between Korean and like Japanese, Korean, as far as I understand, is the only characters that are like this that have circles in it. So That's how I always know my Korean. Now, between Japanese and Chinese, sometimes it's a little difficult because Japanese is based on Chinese lettering. I believe there was an emperor in Korea a few hundred years ago that sort of made it easier for Koreans to learn the language and to be able to write it. So Korean written language is a lot easier than both Chinese and Japanese language. But again, when I know the difference, it's because of the circles. And so that's one I did. This is the other one that Poet Spice and I will be doing a buddy color on. She has books 1 and 3. This one is probably one of my favorite completed pictures of all time. I did this back in April, and anytime you ask me what's my favorite completed page, it's going to be this one right here. That and the pooping star bug one. But I enjoy a lot of the pictures that I do, but this, even with the issues with the hair, I still absolutely love this one. This one I did back in May. This was with Albert Durr. Now, I don't know that I like the finish, and I don't know if it's because I need to put more layers. I've learned you can't really use these kind of pencils, the one that are water soluble, with backgrounds, or at least backgrounds of size, because it just doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work the way that I assume it will, but I like how it came out, and I think it's still a really sweet picture. I do struggle with skin, I do struggle with hair, but overall, I think it's a really nice completed page. And even when I say I struggle, it means it's not to the standard of the picture, but honestly, I don't go in with the expectation that it even should be. This is a professional artist who has published works around the world. I'm just playing in a coloring book and using it to unwind and de-stress. So we definitely have different priorities. And then this one was done recently, and it was a really simple color. I love using distress inks for the background, even when it doesn't move the way I want it to, because I don't still have the skill. But every time I use it, I get a little bit more familiar with it, and that's really all that's important. And this is number 3. I did not actually pick up number 2 until July, so that will be featured at the end of the year when I do an entire year of review of what's in my coloring book collection and completed pages at that time. So this is Opal's Moments Wholly for Yourself. Now, when I mentioned my favorites +1, it's because of this. Now, it's not like I don't like this book. I actually really like this book, but it's not the one that I would think of if you ask me, who are your three favorite artists, or what are your top favorite coloring books? But I forgot to include this in the last one, which was The Ladies. And so this, I actually wrote it on the book. It is Disney World Traveling Coloring Book, and it is a tracing book like some of the earring ones I'll be showing you in just a bit. And the illustrator is Miho Negeshi, and Kiji Maru Works. So it's Miho Negeshi +1. Now this one, I had actually only had a whip up in through June, so this little Winnie the Pooh here. I had started this to do this for Sonia Mixed Media's, I believe it was like Disney Dog or Disney Animal Fortnite coloring challenge. Fortnite is every 2 weeks, apparently. It's a very fancy word. I did the tracing, but I never actually got the coloring done. I don't consider this a whip because there is no color on the page, because I might actually go through my tracing books because I find it very relaxing, do all the tracing, and then go back and do the page. Now, there is a completed page in here, but I'm also not counting that because this one I just finished this weekend for Olga Rani's Palm Tree weekly prompt. So this is definitely not completed within that time frame, so I'm not going to include it. When I show you my final numbers, I made a point of not including this. Now, when I was thinking about that, I didn't realize that I could have been showing you completed pages that I did in July and counting them. So my numbers might not be accurate, but I'm hoping at the end of the year it'll all square up, because I hope to do my completed pages in December and then hopefully have a long weekend, maybe over the New Year weekend, and then do all of my different portions of my my coloring book collection. So that's my plan for 6 months from now, and then I can do a final count of the number of pages. Again, I don't track that on a monthly basis, but it is quite interesting to me on a 6-month increment. Now, I did purposely use Crayola pencils on here just to test them, and I have confirmed that I do not like those pencils, but I was in it to win it. I did also change this. I don't know if you can see it, but underneath in that pale green, this should say Micronesia. Polynesia and Micronesia are two distinct areas in the Pacific Ocean. Micronesia are islands like federal states of Micronesia, Palau. Those are closer to like Japan and China. They're more there, like around the Philippines. Polynesia is Hawaii, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, Tahiti, and this is representative of Moana, and to me, Moana is more of a Polynesian cartoon than it is a Micronesian, or it actually could be an amalgamation of both of those, but I changed it to be more reflective of what I think this actually is, because the colorway was deliberately chosen. In Hawaii, you learn about American history, world history, and Hawaiian history. And Native Hawaiians would take bark off of trees, bang it with sticks and whatever, and create these kind of kapa or tapa fabrics that they would wrap around themselves. And because they were based on wood, they were always brown, that they would imprint some images on. And so that's why I did this all in tones of brown, just to be reminiscent of those tapa or kapa, depending on, kapa would be Hawaiian. Between American Samoan and Hawaiian, there are very similar, but there are some letters that they don't have in each other's alphabet. So I think it's tapa in Hawaiian and kapa in Samoan. Anyway, none of you needed to know that, but that's why I did this page, but it's not included in my final count. Yeah, that's a lot of talking for like a lot of nothing. But I'm really happy with this page. My hand was so sore afterwards. I really do not like Crayolas, but I think the overall image is exactly where I wanted it to be. And so this is the Disney World Travel Coloring Book, and this is by Miho Negeshi, plus the Kiji Maru works. Okay, we're actually going to work our way back to, with Erie Books to Romantic Country. We're not going to start there. This is Fairy Tales, and this is one of her regular coloring books, and you'll see what I mean in just a little bit. And I purchased this from Amazon Japan, and I do have one whip in here. And that's this one here. The browns are done in Montmartre pencils. I picked up secondhand from my friend Susie. I will link her channel below. I will link Poet Spice as well. And I don't know that I like those pencils, but I had not given them a test. They're actually skin tone pencils, but I definitely have other skin tone pencils I know I like better. But with the Erie books, because there are 8 of them that I have in my collection, I know I want to complete at least 1 page per month, just like Opal. Again, Opal and Erie are my 2 favorite. But because it's stretched over 8 books versus the 2 or 3 that I have for Opal, I get a lot less done in here. And as you can see, this is the intro page, and it's already this detailed. So this definitely is going to be work in progress. And I actually am very thankful to Poet Spice. Because of her, I'm not too crazy cuckoo about whips. Before, it would really bother me if I had a lot of outstanding whips. But now, because we have a lot of buddy colors that we're doing, I'm going to inherently have a lot of outstanding whips. And so for something like this, I'd rather enjoy the process rather than try to rush through it. And so this will get done when it gets done, but I will keep it marked just so I know, yes, it's in here, because, you know, I do want to see it completed. I've mentioned this once before. To me, coloring pages pages are like when Dorothy goes to Oz and it turns from all of those grays into all of the Technicolor. That's how I see coloring pages. I love seeing the picture unfold, and so I definitely want to come back to this book. The next one is this one. This is World Travels, I believe. I think so. All of these that you see written in Japanese, I have picked up from Amazon. And I also have a whip in here. Not gonna lie, I really like how this looks like that's how the page came, because I do have a coloring book. Let me grab it. Which is this one right here I featured earlier that has color on a page. I didn't do any of that. And that's this one right here, Girls Coloring Book. And of course I don't have it written down, but this gives me all the feels of that, like, oh, if you didn't know any better, you'd assume that's all the color that was on the page. Now, this also could go for Olga Rani's palm tree prompt, but I'm not going to be able to get this one finished. And that right there has been based in Tombows, and there's a little bit of Black Widow yellow on here somewhere. I couldn't tell you where, but it's written down there. And so I do have that one whip in this one right here. This is Tracing Around the World, Festivals of the World. And I do have one completed picture in here. This one I did a watercolor with my friend Erica over at Elm Colors. We had done this recently. Again, this is one of those ones I actually really shouldn't be including in my count, but I am. I'll square up the totals at the end of the year. This was done in Tombow, Polychromos, and Jelly Roll metallic pens, and I think there's some Gansai Tombi on here as well, and I'm really happy with how that came out. This one I'm not considering a whip. Again, I mentioned it earlier with that Disney one. I did some tracing. I did have all the intentions to do this back in June, but there's no color on the page, so I'm not considering it a whip. And this actually is a really fun coloring book. Next to Romantic Country #1, I think I like these tracing books even more than Romantic Country 2 and 3, and then the last two, although I love all of her work. But I don't know, there's something about these that have a level of detail that is really intricate in some pictures, really simple in others, and I love that she really is going all over the place and visiting different places, and I love that. So this is Festivals of the World, purchased from Amazon Japan, and this is a tracing book by Erie. Another tracing book is World History, and I've completed one in here. This one, I love the color palette, and there's only actually 5 pencils on the page. This was done with Prismacolors, and this was also one of Olga Rani's challenges. But again, you can see I could have done a background. I certainly could have colored that in like a curtain, like I think it could have been, but I liked the contrast, and because I was only using 5 colors deliberately, that's just something I like to do, then it just, I don't know, the emphasis is on here, but I've seen this where other people have done it, and it's beautiful. And again, it's got all sorts of artwork in here. I don't lean towards animals. I don't lean towards fossils. I certainly don't lean towards dinosaurs, but I think this is going to be a really cute picture to color. So I love all of the opportunity that the Erie books have, especially these tracing ones where there's all kinds of subject matter, so you're not just looking at country life or whimsical life like you'll see in Romantic Country in just a bit. And this is World History by Erie. And the final tracing book in Erie series is this one, and I think this is Travel Around the World. Again, should have written that down somewhere. And in here, I believe, yeah, so I completed this, and this again was done in 4 different colors. And this was done with Brutfunners, one of my favorite pencils, and they work quite well on Erie paper. And I did this deliberately. This looks very sepia tone to me, and I think it's just so striking. A lot of the pages in the Erie books, or even Johanna Basford, I might do the additional challenge of doing in only 4 or 5 colors, because it really makes you think. Plus, it's actually, to me, very easy, because then you're not trying to get certain colors. You're just trying to sort of make it work together with only the colors that you've chosen. I don't know, it seems simpler to me somehow. This one is another one that I'm not counting. This was going to be for one of Olga Rani's challenges, but I just didn't make it in time. But I did the tracing on this. But this one I did complete, and I love the color palette on this. Again, I like to keep these fairly simple. It's about the artwork. It does make it easy coloring. And then for me, it definitely is more relaxing than intimidating because I don't care about a background. I don't care that this should be water. I'm just really trying to make this pop as much as I can. And this was also done with just, I think, 5 colors. Yeah, those colors right there. I made a note on here to see the back, just in case I want to bring some of those colors in this one. This one has a lot of fruit and there's water, so this one I might do a lot more in depth on, but again, when we get to that page, we'll get to that page. But this is Travel Around the World, I think, tracing book by Erie. We're going to go backwards to my favorite book from Erie. So my third favorite book is Romantic Country, A Third Tale. And this I actually completed recently. This was supposed to be done in July. I didn't quite make it. This was going to be accounted towards Christmas in July. And I was doing this as a buddy color with my girl Poet. And this is done with Erogetin, Tombow, Jelly Roll, and Metallic Jelly Roll pens, and I just like how simple it is. Again, sometimes I like to do a background, sometimes I don't, and this is definitely one of those times that I didn't feel a need to do one. And then this is the first double page spread I ever completed in any of my coloring books. And I did this as a buddy color for Mermaid with Erica of Elm Colors. This one was definitely a fight when I did it. I had tried some satin glazing medium on here. I had never tested that process out before. It was really a bit of a learning curve trying to figure out how to work it, but I think it looks really pretty. There's some stickles on the page. There's some, I think, Albert Durr. This is one of the few pages that I don't have all of the things written on, and that's just because I couldn't think of anywhere to put it that it wouldn't mar the page. Most of the time I like to put it in the spine because you can't see it. You certainly can see it in this page if I did it. But I really love how that looks. I love how vibrant the hibiscus is, and yeah, I'm really thankful that Erica wanted to do this buddy color with me. And so this is Romantic Country, A Third Tale. Now, what you'll notice if you have seen flip throughs of these books is that these are more detailed in some of the pages than in earlier versions. So the more she went into her series, the more detailed she got in her series. Now, all of these are just opportunities to color. Like, look at that 2-page spread. That's something you probably have to start in October to get done by December. You wanted to do it justice. Something like this, I don't think I would do with just 4 colors. Something like this, I'd want to just go to town and do all the nutcrackers and coordinating colors. Nutcrackers, generally speaking, are very Christmas toned, although I've seen all kinds of nutcrackers. But I definitely would want to just play up the, the holiday festivities of something like this. But yeah, this is definitely, of the 3 romantic countries, my least favorite, and yet it's still a favorite. This is Romantic Country, A Second Tale, and this one, well, apparently by the tabs, I've done quite a bit. And so I did this very easy coloring, but honestly, sometimes you just have to do the small wins. This one is a work in progress that I'm doing with my girl Poet Spice. I have started with some ink tints. I really like how it's coming along. This is one of those pages that's going to take a while because the way that I see it in my head, I'd like to actually put a initial layer of ink tints down just to bring some pigment to the page, and then maybe do some shading in one of my other regular pencils just to bring a little bit more depth to it, because it's a really pretty image. This one right here I did in Derwent Inktense. It was actually the very first page I did in Derwent. And this page, there's actually one other, I think it's in the third tail, that's a bit of an outlier, that it looks like it should be a stained glass and not one of her regular images, but it's still very beautiful. Again, as she progressed, she got a lot more detailed, but again, I'm not afraid of detail. I like it. I just need to be able to give time to it. And then this one took a long time just because I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. But this is the final page that I did in here. I'm really happy with the results. I don't plan out pages. I knew I wanted her to have orange hair and a yellow dress, but beyond that, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and so I was sort of making things up as I went along. And I think it's really pretty. I like flipping through coloring books. Seeing a lot of empty pages just is inspiring to me. I know for some it's overwhelming and intimidating, but this is just a fun time waiting to happen. But seeing a completed page every once and again, that just brings me joy. Whether I love the results or whether I loved the process is irrelevant. This has been shown some love, given my time, given my effort, and that's what I appreciate about completed coloring pages. And that's why I like completed coloring pages videos so much, because the person who did that, they gave their all, they gave their time, their effort, their energy. They could have been doing anything else, but that's what they decided to do. And I love that. That's what coloring books can bring to the table. You know, it's a little tangent. It's nearly 11 o'clock. I have to work tomorrow, but yeah. And then finally, there is the original Romantic Country, and this was quite different, I'd imagine, when it first came on the scene, because it's sort of like Joanna Basford in that there's flowers and leaves and buildings, and it's very whimsical, and yet it definitely is more, I don't even say artistic. It's a different style altogether. But she created a world and she just let you into it. With Joanna Basford, there's definitely, I don't even know how to explain it, because they're both very artistic. They're both very sketchy. They can get quite detailed. This is a little bit more simplistic. The Joanna Basford ones are definitely more regimented. You'll definitely see more linear lines. You'll definitely see more symmetry than you'll see in an Eerie book. So this, while not childish, it definitely pulls more youthful to me. Maybe that's the word I'm struggling for. Now this page I actually am not a fan of. I don't want to say I hate it. Put a lot of time in this. I'm not going to hate that, but I just didn't know how to do something. I think I saved it for the capabilities that I had, but yeah, this is not one of my faves, but it is completed, and so there's that. This one I actually really like. I love the things that look like either parchment or old faded wood. I did do some basing on here with some Tombow water-based pen, but I didn't really think through the process, and so I should have either made the basket lighter or the grass lighter, but these kind of blended together. I mean, I can see it, so there definitely is some effort there. But yeah, that could have popped a little bit more. I'm very happy with my sky. I'm thinking it's a sunrise, as the sun rises in the morning, and then you can just see the different tones of the sky. But yeah, I really overall like how this page came out. And then there's this page. And this one I did, all of the pinks and purples were done with 5 pencils. All of the greens were done with Tombows. And so pink and green are actually my favorite color combo. And so I was really happy how this came out. This was actually done for Ogla Ronnie's Grape Challenge. They're very small, but they're still there. And I just love how some of the things look on here, because I was just using minimal tools, and I think I still got a really good result. Again, I love looking through coloring books. I love looking through Eerie coloring books, and when I come across a page that's completed, it just makes me really happy. Now this, I think, is my favorite definitely of the romantic countries. The tracing books more and more I find to draw me in more than these. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because the subject matter is more out in the actual world versus this imaginary one that she's made. I'm not sure why, but of the romantic countries, number one is definitely my favorite, and that's Romantic Country by Erie. So let me get my long-term reference journal and I'll be right back. All right, so as I've done in the past, this is my Maisie Lane Co. A5 bullet journal, or dot grid journal, I should say. And I get it customized. I do use a A5 Midori cover. I've just repurposed it. I had to do a little bit of maneuvering back here to account for the string, but if you're interested, I'll link that video below. But I do have some final numbers. And so these are my favorites. And so of the completed pages, and again, I didn't include the ones that were done in August. I did complete 20 pages. I do have 5 whips in progress. None of those tracing ones that don't have any color on them are included in that total. And this was 11 books. And so my final numbers for my coloring book collection that started January 2021 and goes through June 2021 is I have 52 books in my arsenal that I picked up. Actually, that number is now wrong because I picked up quite a few in July. I have completed 98 pages and I have 20 works in progress, and that's within that 6-month time. I do plan to actually put these stats here because on this final page I'll actually put not only the stats that I've gotten here, but I also want to list all of the pencils and pens that I picked up from January through June, as well as do a little blurb down here or perhaps over here about the giveaway, and that will be in the final video of this series. So yeah, just one more to go. Again, I'll show you all the pencils, and hopefully I won't be as chatty with my pencils and my pens as I am with my coloring books, but I just really enjoy this hobby and I enjoyed sharing it with you. All right, guys, well, I'd love to know if you have any Erie books, and if you've colored in them, please leave that in the comments below. And as always, aloha.